Alright guys, welcome back to another watercolor demonstration. Today we'll be painting a seascape and two houses standing basically on rocks. This is a motif from Sweden, and yeah, it's gonna be hopefully a loose but expressive painting in the end. I bought a new brush, which is a Chinese calligraphy brush. I've heard a lot of good things about this. And I've tried it out a little, and yeah, I'm going to use it for this painting. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to start as usual. The way I like to paint is not pre-wetting the paper, but simply going ahead and mixing up some colors. I'm using lavender blue and erythrine blue and mix those together. They give you a very nice and quite flat color for the sky. So as you can see, the reference picture, the sky is not too cloudy, so I'm going to try to make the sky still have some interests and maybe some gradients and some small tonal change in value in the sky. And what I usually do is, especially when there's a sea, which is similar in tone and similar in hue, I stop at the horizon and kind of change the hue just a little bit for the sea or the ocean. So I'm about to reach the horizon line here, just a little bit more, changing up the sky so get some interesting nuances in there, a bit of alizarin crimson in it. You can also add some yellow, and here for the watercolor or the water level, the ocean. You see, the ocean is has these clouds, or what do you call it, the water splashing up against the rocks and making these white big clouds. And it's important to try to save out those parts of the rocks. So I'm pre-wetting the paper there a little to hopefully get some softer edges. And I'm using this new Chinese brush to kind of soften up the edges there a little. And just painting the water level. I see I missed some spots here in the sky. So I'm just trying to wipe off some so I don't have too much water on the brush, making it basically drying off the brush. So if I use too much water, it will just spill out and it will create a lot of blooms. And so I'm simply just trying to lift off the hard edges, kind of soften that a little. And I already know that I'm going to have to try to fill in the water part later on and kind of darken it down. So now I'm going for the rocks, and as you can see, is a very sunny day, and it has an evening sun, so it's a very strong and vivid orange, red, yellow color. I kind of want to overdo it a little bit so you get a very strong sense of warmth and power there in the rocks. And I'm basically wanting just to paint all the rock formation in the same tone and kind of leaving out these houses for now, because I don't want them to be in the exact same color, but I'm basically now just laying the foundation for the ground part, so to speak. And what I also want to do when I paint is I want to make the image more interesting. So I find it valuable to just add in some more different hues and tones in that layer. So maybe some red, maybe some yellow, some lavender, just making each wash not too flat and too boring in a sense, without, darken it down as a whole, because I want to still keep the whole wash very vivid and quite bright. So I'm continuing down on the ground here, and soon gonna finish that off, and just gonna go straight into the roof part, which is a red tint. So I'm basically painting the foundational layers, which will be darkened later on, but this is the foundation. So obviously the whole shadow part of the building here, I don't want to make this the same tone and hue as the sunny area. I want to keep it quite close to what I see, but this will become darker in the end. And the sunlit area of the building will be actually lit a little bit brighter than the ground. Not only because it's facing the sun at more of an angle, but I want to make it stand out a bit more. So I'm gonna let this dry up, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to improve the horizon line and kind of define the horizon a bit. So I'm softening up the mountains here in the background and the horizon, and softening up, pre-wetting the areas where I want to have softer, water clouds in the sea. And I go for a Mediterranean blue, some lavender blue, the same as I used for the sky, but going a bit darker here on the horizon, and hopefully I can get it so the paper's a bit warped now, but the horizon line should be quite straight. Kind of just filling in here and not going too, I'm trying to just leave some of the white space here for those ocean clouds, water clouds in the ocean. And I'm pre-wetting the rock formation now, because as I said before, I like to mix different colors in to get a great variation in the shadows in each wash. So for me, I want to have, as you can see in the reference image, there are quite stark shadows. And that happens usually when you have a strong sunlit sky or a strong direct sun. You also have a great contrast in the shadows. So this image is going to contain, of course, a lot of shadows, but I still want to leave out a lot of these areas where the sun hits the rock. And the reason why I pre-wet the surface of the rocks is because I want the shadows to become softer. and not just have too many hard lines on the ground. This is quite challenging, to get the right amount of hard edges and soft edges. This is the whole point of watercolor, the lost and found edges. And it's quite challenging not to overdo the amount of dark, especially in a very sunlit motif like this. Kind of trying to fill in the more with some different variation and hues, adding some green, mixing up some new gamboge and lavender to try to make a little green hue, and also adding some more pure colors here. The quinacridone orange, I think it's called, or is it quinacridone yellow? I'm not sure. So I'm trying to just not overly paint in the ground and try to leave as much shadow here and light, have a good balance between those two. And as you can see, the roof has dried up very light, and now I'm going in with a much darker red hue to be the shadow part of the roof, and trying to make the shadow part of the house as well in a quite bluish purple hue. And I've spoken about this before, but I actually don't like having like dark like black and gray shadows. I think the images or the paintings, they vibrate a lot better when you stop using gray and black pigments. Now, of course, there are times that you can use gray and black in a very effective way, but I found that especially in sunny motifs, that having a variety of reds against blue and so on, the colors will vibrate. And this is normal color theory that I like to use complement colors. So red and blue, for example, next to each other makes the individual color pop and vibrate more. So that's part of the art as well, to know which colors that you place next to each other to make the other color pop, so to speak, and having that balance in the painting. And when I paint my shadows here and the kind of the details of the house and so on, I'm making sure to have enough darkness where I want the eye to be drawn. So for example, to the house, and having a good balance between making not too dark, but also adding, as you can see here, I'm trying to just add some richer values, like some pure lavender and ultramarine blue, which will make obviously a lot darker pigments into the shadows. And when you paint pure pigments into your darker areas, your eyes will be drawn towards those areas as well. Just adding some more details here in the end, and now it's starting to go towards finding that balance between overdoing things and just trying to, for example, when you make, or when I make these like panels or sideboards of the house, I don't want to overdo it and go too dark. I'm just wanting to add some hints that there might be, something for the eye to be drawn towards. And I felt like the ocean was not dark enough. It didn't really match so much the reference, but I thought that I wanted to darken this a tiny bit more, and also by darkening it I can make these kind of water clouds, foam clouds, stand out a bit more as well, and adding some hints of waves here as well. I'm just trying to find a good balance there. And I saw the house on this little outhouse, that the roof of this was not the right tint, so I'm just trying to lift the old color off and I want to make it more vivid and more intense, basically. Like, should be more of a reddish and yellow tone, so like the sun is really striking this roof, kind of adding that to the chimney of the large house as well. And for me, it's really not just, it's not a science in that sense. I'm just adding more shadows where I feel, when I squint my eyes and I feel that I could use more darkness and depth, and really try to be sure to not overdo it. And I really don't watch my reference image that much, but I simply try to find a balance and add the darkness to where I feel it's suitable. So I'm starting to feel like it's coming up and starting to look quite good. It's starting to look finished almost. And I am just being very careful here to not overdo the shadows too much. And yeah, I think I'm about to finish this. So yeah, guys, that's it for this painting. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.